What's up, everybody? Aaron Feely back again here on White Sox Daily with a bit more White Sox news as March continues to march along. We've got opening day coming up later on in the month, spring training in full swing. We got some big time news in regards to some of the big positional battles through spring training, who's going to still be on the roster come March 26th, whole bunch of stuff. So stay tuned. We got that coming at you right now, including who's going to be starting for the Chicago White Sox come opening day. They did announce earlier on, late last night, that Shane Smith will officially be the White Sox opening day starter. So still unclear as to how the full rotation is going to ultimately end up panning out for Chicago. But we do at least know Shane Smith was obviously locked in regardless, so no real huge, shockers there. But a guy that, was still kind of maybe up in the air as to who was actually going to be that day one guy. But yeah, Shane Smith officially announced, had a brilliant season for Chicago last year. Pretty decent for Milwaukee in the few games he was able to get the previous season. And yeah, so Shane Smith came out, had himself a nice season last year, having himself a fairly decent spring, announced as the opening day starter against his former team in the Milwaukee Brewers. Come March 26th, that should be a great contest. The White Sox, a little bit of optimism in Chicago right now with the way the offense is playing, with Murakami on board. Still waiting to see kind of how the roster shapes up. Will there be even more young talent that'll be exciting to watch, even if maybe necessarily they don't hit the ground running to the same extent consistently throughout the year that some of these more established teams might get out of their veterans and other such players. But should be exciting to watch Montgomery play again, see if he can continue his growth. Murakami, how will he adjust to the major league scene once regular season play begins? He is killing it for Team Japan right now. The World Baseball Classic showcasing a lot of White Sox talent. Sam Antonacci just had himself a big RBI triple against Great Britain last night. That was a huge, big-time hit for him. He ended up scoring on the play thanks to a throwing error as well, so a little bit of a little league inside the park home run for Sam. Curtis Mead has still been really good for Team Australia. It's been a really nice World Baseball Classic for the White Sox to this point. And for the actual Chicago White Sox, it's been a fun spring. Can't wait to see how that keeps on rolling. But speaking of some of the pitching situations that have rolled throughout the spring for the Chicago White Sox, they've certainly got themselves into a position now where some questions might start to be formed. We've talked about guys like Tanner Murray already. Some of these other guys that have stepped up that we didn't think. Sam Antonacci, another one that there wasn't a great deal of expectation that he would be on the opening day roster. He was just he's a young guy. He's still a year or so removed. He'll come out for the spring. It'll be fun. And then, oh, look, oopsie daisies. He's the best second baseman on the team. Might have earned himself a roster spot. Tanner Murray's been playing so well. Maybe he's earned a roster spot. But we've covered those guys already. One guy that really has come kind of out of nowhere to this point has been Brandon Eisert, who has really solidified himself through this spring as one of the top lefty arms for the Chicago White Sox at this time. Putting together a really nice spring to this point. A guy that was brought in kind of just to fill out the roster, maybe compete for a bullpen spot. They also brought in Murphy and Newcomb. A lot of guys that were certainly of a higher pedigree coming in than Eisert had been. Ryan Baruki also brought in to throw from the left side for Chicago. There wasn't a great deal of hype around Eisert, who was considered mostly, once again, kind of like a lot of these younger guys, like Hagen Smith, like Sam Antonacci. He was just going to be brought in for the spring, have himself a fun little time, and then down to AAA he was going to go. And to this point, that just has not been the case. Having himself a really fantastic spring training thus far. kind of already talked about it through the 3.2 innings that he has pitched to this point, has not allowed a run, has only allowed one hit. Uh, he's showcased quite a bit. That's really all you can say about that. We'll have to see if that earns him any sort of credibility, potentially to earn himself a roster spot that we didn't think he was otherwise going to get. But yeah, when you've pitched 3.2 innings, you've only allowed one hit, no walks allowed, 7 strikeouts, and of course, as we already talked about, 0 earned runs to this point. Granted, it's been a lot of late inning work in the spring. Late innings often means you're facing a lot of other teams' guys that are just there for a little bit of fun in the spring before they get sent down. So, I'm obviously a little bit of a grain of salt here, but I mean, the numbers are what they are, and just from a visual standpoint, he looks like he has great command when you watch him pitch. He looks like a guy that wants to take advantage of this opportunity, knows the eyeballs are on him, and really, really thinks that he can make a push to make this roster. And I think the White Sox would not be doing any sort of service to themselves if they didn't at least give him a look and have that conversation as they're putting the roster together come the end of March. And speaking of some of the roster decisions, we also have that big center field battle. It's been talked about to death at this point. And one of the big talking points, especially coming into the season, was that Everson Pereira was widely considered the favorite to land the starting center field job. It was going to be a completely open competition. There was no incumbent starter. There was no big signing. There was no any guy that was going to get the benefit of the doubt. It was a completely open competition, and Pereira was just kind of widely considered the favorite just based on his previous experience and kind of some of the upside there. And then he got hurt at the end of February and hasn't played at all in this spring. And that raised a few eyebrows and starting to maybe fall behind some of the other guys they brought in to send out there. Acuna's been fairly decent through spring training. I know Lamonte Wade Jr. is mostly an infielder, has played some outfield, not spectacular at it defensively, but at least at the plate, he has showcased that he is, able to get on base. He's got a lot of experience as well. He's showcased in previous seasons that he can hit that baseball. And so maybe that earns him a look in either right or center field. Brooks Baldwin's been killing it, and so with each game missed for Everson Pereira, that stranglehold and kind of, that top dog outlook that a lot of people had on his path to becoming the starter out there in center field every day type of situation, starting to dwindle fairly quickly. But we do finally have an update on how the injury is progressing. Will Venable, very optimistic, said we are looking at next week to get him out there if he continues to progress as he currently is. He should be able to start some games in center field as soon as next week. So there we go. That was actually from Friday, sorry. So from Friday night, a quote there from manager Will Venable. And so that should be sometime this upcoming week that we will be seeing Everson Pereira out there getting some reps in spring training and trying to earn his spot back into this lineup and into a potential starting position in center field for the Chicago White Sox as, they continue to try to piece together each and every one of these competitions. At first, we thought the infield was the only thing completely locked up. Maybe second base is up for grabs now. Maybe not. We're still not entirely sure. They really like Chase Meidroth, what he brings defensively and his ability to make contact. But yeah, Sam Antonocci been really solid. Tanner Murray been really solid. So it's going to be something to watch. Curtis Mead's been killing it, as a matter of fact, over in the World Baseball Classic. Then what do we do with Lenine Sosa? It's a whole mess at the moment, but that's where they stand as of right now. And then one other guy that we were all kind of excited to watch this spring finally made his debut late last week. Thursday night against Cleveland, Hagen Smith, in what was ultimately a very rough game for the White Sox as a whole, but a very decent showing for Hagen Smith. He did allow 2 hits, but no walks, 2 strikeouts, got all 3 outs, didn't allow a run. So ultimately, I'd say for a debut in spring for a young prospect, highly ranked in the Chicago White Sox system, very nice debut there for Hagen Smith. Liked what we saw out of one inning of work. Can't wait to continue to watch him this spring. I highly doubt he ends up as someone that can, make a big shocking push and earn himself a roster spot. He's still looking at maybe potentially down the road this year, or preferably next year, assuming that all the pitching is going nicely and that they can afford to let our developmental prospects develop properly. But yeah, Hagen Smith, nice debut. Way to go. That'll do it for today's episode, though. Stay tuned with us. Let us know in the comment section below how you feel about Brandon Eisert and potentially his ability to make this roster. What are your thoughts on the second base logjam that they got going on there? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed what we brought to you here on White Sox Daily, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.